Welcome back to A Better World. This is your host, Mitchell J. Rabin, and we're very glad that you're joining us again today. Today we're going to have another very interesting show. We are very pleased to have Dr. Harold Bloomfield with us, who is a world-renowned psychiatrist who has done real cutting-edge work in the field of psychiatry and integrative medicine, bringing the wisdom of ages, of herbal lore, into the domain of psychiatry that has been so tripped up with medication for so many years dealing with psychiatric problems. He has almost single-handedly helped to revolutionize the practice of psychiatry through his work and through his award-winning and best-selling books, of which this is one. Speaks about anxiety, depression, and other psychiatric problems and new innovative ways to deal with them. Harold also ran for governor of California in the Natural Law Party and is truly an outstanding gentleman who is making his life really memorable and incredible for all to see. He has taken psychiatry, psychology, and the thinking about consciousness and bringing it into the realms not only of psychiatry, but also politics and his life in general. So we're very pleased to have Harold on the show with us today, speaking about his work.
Mitchell. All right.
Great to have you.
Great to be with you and all of your viewers as well.
Great. Thanks so much. We're really glad to have you, Harold.
Oh, super.
Now, how did you originally get involved in looking at the herbal lore? Why don't we start with that, since that's been a large part of what's been going on in the last number of years, and bringing that to bear in the psychiatric world. After all, you've been trained as a conventional psychiatrist.
I'm a Yale-trained psychiatrist.
There you go.
I was taught that drugs are the answer to all that ails us.
Yes.
And that couldn't be further from the truth. Certainly, there are advantages to having been trained in medicine, but there is a much deeper rooted traditions of medicine that go back thousands of years in the Greek, the Indian, the Chinese, the American,
the Talmudic,
exactly, that have taught us, as Hippocrates said, that food can be our best medicine, that plants have a creative intelligence that really can aid our nervous system in healing and also in integrating. And what happened for me was that I'd been for many years involved in the holistic health movement, had a best-selling book in that area, and kept traveling to Europe. I'm fortunate to do a lot of seminars over there over the years, and many of my colleagues over there were talking about St. John's Wort. And, at first I was interested, but a little skeptical. And then two things happened. Number one, I started to really take a look at the scientific research. I am a believer in science. John Dewey's definition is a systematic means of gaining reliable knowledge. And there were studies...
Nicely put.
Yeah, just very practical.
Yes.
And studies in the British Medical Journal and a number
The
of
Lancet.
other, the Lancet, a number of other just top medical journals showed that there have been now over 42 double-blind, placebo-controlled studies comparing St. John's Wort to synthetic antidepressants such as Prozac and the like, showing that St. John's Wort was just as effective, but with far fewer side effects. So what that means is that at least 75 to 80% of people who have mild to moderate depression, which is about 30 million people in the United States alone,
Diagnosed,
mild to moderate depression, either dysthymia, which means chronic low-grade depression, or a variant of acute depression that's more than just surviving a loss, where of course we all go through tremendous anguish, but where it persists. It literally starts to become the dark night of the soul. Even though you try to put a happy face on, even though you try to not bring down your friends, you just don't feel good. And it can show up as aches and pains where you're running from doctor to doctor and there's no specific diagnosis.
When they begin to somatize it, basically.
Exactly. Sleeping, early morning awakening, another symptom. And a lot of times people can be depressed without feeling depressed. It could literally be that you are irritable in your relationships.
Yes. It sneaks out in a sense.
Undermines your confidence. You're afraid to make a new move. Well, that could also be a chronic low-grade depression. St. John's wort takes about 3 weeks to kick in. It is completely safe. It's not addictive. The only caution would be people who are very light-skinned and have blonde hair have to perhaps put a little extra sunscreen on if they're going to go spend time on the beach.
Is that so?
A little bit of photosensitivity for those individuals. Other than that, remarkably free of side effects. Prozac, for example, 60-70% of people taking it have decreased libido or inability to have an orgasm. I literally have people in my office say, I felt like I had to choose between having a sex life and being happy. And I said, my God, I didn't realize the two were mutually exclusive.
That's a new one for the books, We're not even happy, but not depressed,
right.
at least. But
exactly,
sure.
Exactly. And where St. John's wort really helps people feel perky and feel alive. There's a lightness of being that returns. You want to take the St. John's wort extract, which is 300 milligrams of a 0.3% hypericin extract. And you take one 3 times a day, and then just wait a month. Don't look for anything. Wait a month, and you'll see a significant benefit. And then,
and is that kind of a generic kind of statement for people with moderate or mild depression that want to alleviate it to some extent, address it with St. John's wort?
Exactly.
Okay.
It's now become a standard law. There's probably 8 to 9 million people in Europe who use St. John's wort extract on a regular basis. In fact, in Germany, St. John's wort is 54% of the antidepressant market. Prozac is down to 1% of the antidepressant market. So it shows that there's an herbal medicine revolution taking place where we know aspirin, after all, comes to us from the bark of the white willow tree. Digitalis comes from the plant. Even penicillin comes from primitive plant mold. And we know that plants can aid us, but here we, for the first time, have scientific evidence that for a psychological disorder, depression, St. John's wort makes a huge difference. And another important herb to mention is kava.
But what you were suggesting, Harold, is that European doctors have been using St. John's wort. That's where you initially ran into the research.
Exactly. And in fact, European doctors have been using plant medicines continuously.
Probably from the Middle Ages,
to the times of Hippocrates, really. Hippocrates prescribed St. John's wort for nervous unrest.
Is that so?
Yeah. And what happened in our country, in America, is we also had an herbal medicine tradition. But then we became enamored with antibiotics. And antibiotics led to the one bullet, magic bullet for everything that ails us. And the herbal medicine industry, got suppressed, and we were looking for chemicals, living better through chemistry.
That's right.
And
well, also to synthesize naturally occurring substances is much cheaper, and there was a much larger profit margin. So that became the rule of the day.
And to reinforce that, Mitchell, in the United States, you cannot patent a plant. So there's very little economic incentive to research these botanicals alone. You're looking for a one chemical that you can extract, but then you often miss the synergistic effect. These plants have literally evolved right alongside of us. And the wise ones in our midst have always said, "Oh, Harold, you're looking a little peaked. Let me make you some
a little
St. John's wort tea or salad." And,
that's right. Well, of course, nature has, as you say, included all the alkaloids, all the neighboring substances to help with the not just the chemistry, but actually the alchemy of the plant as it relates to the human body.
Even the delivery system.
We're learning so much now about
intelligence of some of these chemicals to deliver quite literally to every cell in our body these wonderfully potent units of creative intelligence.
Yes.
Kava Kava is another that people
Yes.
know.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well,
And that treats primarily
anxiety. People in this country, 65 million people suffer from anxiety disorders. We are a stressed out civilization, and perhaps right here in New York City, I would say
we have a majority.
I grew up in New York.
Per capita.
So, I certainly can relate. And
if we have 220 million people in this country, give or take,
that's right.
and 30 million, you say, have one form or another of depression.
Right.
And 65 million, I'm going to assume for now it's not the same group. So that makes about 95 million people, which is almost 50%.
One out of every three people complain about having some symptoms of what is certainly either mild anxiety, mild depression. And we know that over the years, that can continue to the point where a person has a severe anxiety disorder or a severe depression, or simply through wearing down our bodies. It can weaken our psychoneuroimmune system. We're constantly pumping adrenaline and cortisol, and, where we don't have then our vital chemistry for when something really comes along that challenges us. And
well put.
And also the solutions we use. For example, the benzodiazepines, Valium, Xanax, what the Beatles called mother's little helpers. Very addictive. After just 2 weeks, even according to the physician's desk reference, it starts to create its own need. People experience rebound anxiety, rebound insomnia that causes them to further have low self-esteem, thinking, my God, I can't cope without this.
Basically addictive.
Medication. Yeah, very addictive. Very addictive. Kava has no addictive qualities, whatever. It comes to us from Fiji. No wonder those people.
That alone recommends it, right?
And you would think Fiji wouldn't be the place for kava to grow. It would be right in the city,
Central Park.
Exactly. And kava, when taken appropriately, and it should be a kava extract, which means a concentrate. 0.8% is a good concentration. The individual experiences deep relaxation, but feeling alert. It's not sedating. And it should only be used, on an as-needed basis. But again, in Europe, it's used very, very commonly and very effective.
So they've been importing the herb from Fiji.
Right
for
here,
all these years.
Yeah. It's been. In fact, it was Captain James Cook that first brought kava from one of his trips through the islands back to Europe, and they've been using it continuously ever since. Yeah. So.
He should have dropped some off in Hawaii.
Yeah. Right. I think they do grow some in Hawaii as well. And Vanuatu is another place that these wonderful tropical places is where kava thrives.
This is fabulous. So it can be taken on a moderate basis for a set period of
6
time.
months of time would not be inappropriate. And I describe in the book various specific regimens in terms of 1-2 a day, depending on what's going on.
Now, do you believe that anxiety is primarily biochemically rooted, or is it more psychologically based or stress-based?
The answer is all three, and let me address it this way.
Sure.
We now know that the brain has a specific portion called the amygdala, which is the brain's alarm center. And for some of us, on a purely genetic level, a 1 alarm fire is always a 5 alarm fire. And there's a family history of people just being nervous wrecks.
Sure.
And
well, it's also related to the reptilian function, is it not, of the brain?
So
the fight or flight survival.
Eat or be
So,
eaten. Very powerful, and that fight or flight mechanism was very important to our evolution. However, in modern day life, there's very little adaptation that comes from either fighting your boss
right.
or fleeing the scene of an accident. You want to stay centered. The optimal state of human functioning is restful alertness. Rest on the level of the body, alertness, clarity on the level of the mind.
Exactly.
Now,
and coherence between the two brain spheres
right,
as well.
Exactly.
Please.
So literally have synchronization between the intuitive and the analytical so that we can operate with that
Holy.
unity. Holy, exactly. Lovely. And certainly, if we learn how to take better care of ourselves, meditate twice a day, eat good, nutritious foods, avoid caffeine, avoid heavy amounts of alcohol.
Heavy, noxious foods
Heavy,
and
noxious
drink.
Foods. Certainly, we're less likely to become buzzed, anxious. Also, learning how to deal with our very human fears appropriately.
Sure.
Be able to overcome our fears of intimacy, our fears of being assertive, speaking up for our rights. Those are all important skills that some of us learned in our families growing up. Some of us didn't have modeled for us, so we have to learn more appropriate ways of expressing our needs. And but some people, in addition, can benefit from tools and herbs that help reduce the overall level of stress. A good example, I wanted to be sure and get this in, is I've been reviewing research on Amrit Kalash, Amritkalash. It's a mixture of 40 herbs that comes out of the Ayurvedic Indian tradition that has been used for 5,000 years, and recently in this country it's been looked at Ohio State Medical School, at Purdue, at South Dakota School of Pharmacology. And it turns out that it has the constituents are 1,000 times more powerful an antioxidant than vitamin C or E. We've never seen anything
or
like it
pycnogenol
before. Yes, it's 1,000 times more powerful than grapeseed extract, and I've been a big proponent of grapeseed extract. And
that's quite a statement.
Oh, it's remarkable, and it's being researched by the National Cancer Institute
really?
in the treatment of cancers. It's already been shown to help in the avoidance of developing cancers, preventing heart disease, and especially because people who have stress are much more prone to producing free radicals, which are these pyromaniac molecules that literally can destroy our cell membrane coherence. They can even cause the chromosomes, the DNA material to start to mutate, having higher rates of cancer. We, particularly in modern day culture, need these antioxidants. And we need a lot of antioxidants. And
we don't have enough oxygen in the air we breathe every day. So we've got to get oxygen from somewhere.
So to me, what's fascinating is, once again, we're seeing this convergence of this age-old tradition of medicine.
Yes.
St. John's Wort came to us from the Greek Hippocrates tradition. Kava came to us from the Fijian islands, and here Amrit Kalash comes to us from ancient India.
Spiritual homeland of the world.
Exactly. And yet through the window of science, we're able to see, is there anything to this? Why has this lasted as a remedy for so many years? And then to discover, my gosh, there is something remarkable here. The National Institutes of Health, a very dear friend of mine there, Jerry Cott, who's the director of research, has just given a grant to further study Amrit Kalash. So it's part of what's happening that we in America are seeing, and I think it has very deep significance for our evolving consciousness. That you said it very well, Mitch, that we're using both hemispheres. The intuitive, which really represents the deep roots of wisdom, including the wisdom of these herbal medicines, and from our collective consciousness.
A genetic wisdom, if you will.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then also our analytical side.
Yes.
Science, being a little skeptical. Taking a look, okay, let's really take a look in a systematic way.
Sure.
You know, what is really making a difference? The double-blind, placebo-controlled experiments allow it to be studied, as it were, objectively.
Absolutely.
And then combining the two
Yeah.
for, you know, more wholeness, more health, more well-being.
Well put, really. It's taking the strength of the Western tradition
Exactly.
and bringing it together with the strength of the Eastern.
Exactly.
You know, one has been by and large an intuitive wisdom, but you know, science has always been applied.
Yes.
The functioning of the left brain has always traditionally been part of Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine because
absolutely.
they're rooted in observation.
That's right.
What works?
Exactly.
Does this work or does this not work? And you know,
Thousands
based
and
on
thousands
that.
of case histories
Exactly.
and accumulated knowledge precisely about what works.
Yeah.
And I'm more and more recommending that, particularly people who suffer from anxiety, that if we just substituted an herb for a drug, that might be some progress.
Mm-hmm.
But we also want to recognize that many of us have been suffering from lifestyle disorders. That the anxiety
Yes.
is a signal that something is
Out.
is
Yeah.
off, is out of balance.
Yeah.
And we need to pay attention to that, and we also need to look at some of these other cultures and what they've taught us about and practice all kinds of different lifestyle changes. One of the things I love about Ayurveda is there are changes in your food and in your exercise as the seasons come and go.
Oh yes,
You know, you do
sure.
a seasonal cleanse. You learn how to use a massage, including self-massage. You know,
Oils.
Scents, exactly, where you literally learn how to be back in your body. Because
That's right.
in Western culture, we're so busy, we're so in our head, that we lose that sensate focus.
Exactly.
And that...
And the
causes
true
anxiety.
joy and therapy of sensuality.
Absolutely.
Let's get real, you know.
Absolutely. The miracle of connecting through our senses to one another and having spirit infuse all of our senses. And
Exactly.
the truth is that anxiety, depression cut off those sensations. We feel numb.
Yes.
We feel numb. And
Sure, it
then we get
inhibits the
lonely.
nervous system, and so
Yeah.
one isn't even experiencing as such in the
Exactly.
same way anymore. It's a
Exactly.
distortion.
Exactly. And we become habituated, and then we just become these creatures of habit, and we lose that freshness
God.
of moment-to-moment experience.
Absolutely.
So if one is suffering from anxiety, if someone is tuned in today, certainly start with some of the herbal medicines that we're talking about, but also use that signal to stimulate growth. You know, the
God,
Chinese
yes,
had
exactly.
it well, you know.
Yeah, like the Ayurveda, the Chinese medical system is very much akin.
Oh, yes, very
It's
much.
all rooted in the earth, it's
Right.
rooted in the seasons, the winds, water, rain. I mean, it's all
The elements.
connected, the elements, exactly.
And using those elements.
Connected to the organs, connected to the emotions.
Beautiful.
Everything is seen as a matter of energy flow.
Yes.
You know,
Exactly.
you know, and it kind of, it's almost embedded, Harold, in Gestalt therapy in a sense, because you've got an entire picture. It's true holism, if you will.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly. Learning to see yourself now as an energetic being.
Yeah.
Because we're only solid on a very narrow band
That's
of the
right.
electromagnetic spectrum. It's quite illusory, really.
That's right.
We really are beings of light. We know that from quantum physics.
Yes.
And
It is proven.
It is proven. And the more that the energy can flow, the more that we learn to tune into that level of awareness and respect it in one another. That's another part of
God,
the,
yeah.
of the great revolution that's taking place, is that we are coming to a deeper, abiding respect of that we are spiritual beings in a human form. And the dignity of that, the awe and wonder and majesty of that, and sharing with one another our healing traditions, and with integrity,
Very
what
true.
really works.
It really works.
So
It's so good, and you are exemplary of a new wave, if I may say, of doctor, of psychiatrist who is willing to just, I feel, stand out and tell the truth, to look inside your own soul and say, look, let's be real. Just who am I serving here? Am I servicing a medical industry, or am I serving my patient and myself?
Just a drug rep, basically dispensing.
Exactly, drug salesperson. Exactly.
Or am I truly going to be a healer, a humble healer?
That's right.
And,
as Hippocrates articulated.
I can tell you that revolution is taking place. Number one, it's consumer-led. More consumers now, there's a study done in the New England Journal of Medicine, are going to see alternative health practitioners than go see their GP. And even though they're paying for it out of their own pocket, I'm doing a series of training programs with MAPI, Maharishi Ayurvedic Products International. We're training thousands of physicians all over the country in very simple Ayurvedic principles and Ayurvedic herbal medicines that the hunger is there. Physicians now realize that if they don't get on board, they're going to be left behind. That, especially when it comes to the chronic dis-ease, disorder, and dissatisfaction, that is most of what brings people in to see the doctor.
Yep. That is a remarkable statement, that there are thousands of doctors
who were signed up for these training programs.
Back in the 70s and the early 80s, when I started studying Chinese medicine and practicing psychotherapy, I was always tuned in holistically, as you obviously were as well. And I knew that it was only a matter of time. I knew, like I had two hands and a nose on my face, that it was only a matter of time before the truth would be known and the traditional medicines would come to the forefront. And that allopathic medicine, as it was cast in stone, would stop being the primary way. It just can't be. It must be in dialogue with and supported by true traditional medicine. And it's happening.
And as I say, it's already happened that it no longer is the predominant form of healthcare in America.
God. And it's written up in one of medicine's greatest journals. So, my God.
Very exciting.
Well, let's show your book, latest book, once again, to the audience. God, it's been a pleasure having you, Harold.
We can go on for hours.
I know, and we will. We'll go on another time. Thanks so much for being on the show.
And my love to all of your viewers at home. It's just a great opportunity to visit with you in your homes, in your living rooms.
Great. Thanks. And thanks so much for the work you're doing, both in the healing world as well as the world of consciousness and politics.
Yes.
You're supporting some dynamite people out there.
Natural Law Party.
Living your heart.
Right.
God bless. This is Mitchell J. Rabin for A Better World. Thanks so much for joining us. Please give a call at 212-420-0800. Share your thoughts and feelings with me. Hope you enjoyed the show, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.